The T-125 is an American Tier 10 tech tree heavy tank. It's a very strong tank in many different aspects, and in the literal sense too. The upper plate on this tank is super thick. It's about 300 millimeters base, and that's just on flat ground. If you're using this vehicle with its 8 degrees of gun depression, the upper plate becomes an auto ricochet to almost any shells in the game. And thankfully, it also has an incredibly thick turret. Sure, it does have some weak turret cheeks if you aim right next to the gun mantlet, but if you just miss a little bit to the left or the right of it, you are getting bounces all day, every day. The mantlet is like 800 millimeters thick, and it's able to get a lot of bounces when you do use this thing fully hull down. Unfortunately, in Update 8.2, this vehicle did receive a damage per minute nerf, bringing it down to around 2400, which is, yeah, pretty low, especially for a Tier 10 heavy. This is a very low value, very comparable to a vehicle like the 60 TP, but this tank obviously doesn't have a 600 damage per shot gun. It's got a 400 damage per shot gun. Thankfully, the gun is still very nice on all the other areas. It's got very good penetration on 374 with its heat, and it's also got very good aiming time at 3 seconds with 0.321 base dispersion. So the gun still hits a lot of shells, which is very nice, especially when you compare it to some of the larger alpha guns at Tier 10. But yeah, the DPM definitely hurt this tank. When we break into the final aspect being mobility, this tank goes 37 kilometers per hour forward and 12 in reverse. But if you do use the speed boost consumable, you can go up to 22 in reverse. So you might be wondering, well, why am I talking about this tank when this video is supposed to be on the new Christmas Tier 10? Well, that's because imagine that you get the T-125 and you give it a non-stop speed boost, the ability to go 45 kilometers per hour as a top speed normally, and you give it reverse speed, but instead of going 12 and needing speed boost to go in reverse fast, now we have a tank that can go in reverse at 18 kilometers per hour all the time, anytime it wants to. Imagine a vehicle that has 3000 DPM, but better armor on the upper plate and turret as a T-125. Well, that is not a delusion. That is the actual tank that will be coming out, my guess, for this Christmas, being the Concept 1B. You can see a picture of it right here, and this, of course, is the Christmas banner. Wargaming made this banner, and they accidentally released it on the Steam pages, and they actually changed it, like, literally 30 minutes later. I don't think they actually meant to show this picture, but you can clearly see that this is a Concept 1B. And what that means is the Concept 1B will definitely be coming out for Christmas in some way, shape, or form. Now, the scary part about that is that the Concept 1B was actually buffed in Update 8.5, as you can see statistically here. It's now sitting at 3000 damage per minute, and it was sitting at around 2800 before, as you can see here. So, yeah, the vehicle got a pretty big buff, which is going to make it a heck of a lot stronger. Now it's got 3000 damage per minute, and if you're running calibrated shells, the same standard pen as the T-125. There is a bit of a downside on the heat. It's 341, which is definitely lackluster for a Tier 10 heavy tank, but the good news is you're still going to cut through a lot of Tier 10 armor, and I mean, you can get away with running Cali on this tank because it's got such good DPM even with Cali at 2800. I mean, this completely stumps what the T-125 ever dreamed of having. Not to mention the vehicle shell velocity is 1478, which is very, very strong. Its aiming time at 1.99 seconds with the dispersion of 0.326 is very comparable to what the T-125 is currently, and the on-movement dispersion of this tank is absolutely fantastic, so it's not going to bloom at all when you're driving the tank. It has more gun depression than the E5 at 10 degrees, and it's got very good gun elevation at 20 degrees, so anybody above you, which is a very rare thing, but you can still need it every now and then. I mean, I was driving my Amx 12T today, and man, that thing really struggles at aiming up. Turret traverse is super fast at 32 degrees a second, which is a heck of a lot faster than the E5s that was nerfed, and as I did say, 45 forwards and 18 in reverse, with a ridiculous power to weight ratio of 14.19, and that is base without even running any equipment. This tank is going to be incredibly strong, and when I mean incredibly strong, I also mean on the armor. I mean, the upper plate on base is 271 thick, and judging that, as we said, this vehicle has 10 degrees of gun depression, this is what it looks like when you use it fully hull down. Yep, that upper plate is 378, and if you load heat, it is 410. You're never, ever penning it when this vehicle is using its full gun depression. And just look at the turret. I mean, you can't penetrate it. Unless you hit that spot up there, which is incredibly small, or a little bit of the edge of the turret here, you're not not penning it. This tank is ridiculous on the armor. Now, just to show you a comparison of what the Concept 1B's turret looks like to a, let's say, T110 E5, this is an E5's turret when you load on heat. I mean, look at the difference. These cheeks are massive. Sure, the upper plate is ridiculously strong still. The turret, it's really good on the mantlet, as I did say. But I mean, there's no comparison. This tank's turret is way, way better. It's literally 10,000 times better than the T110 E5. And yeah, imagine trying to pen this while you're being peppered by 2,850 DPM while this vehicle's running calibrated. Not to mention, the vehicle also has ridiculously stupid side armor. The sides are completely angled, meaning that you can actually bounce even AP shells at this angle here. Now, my suggestion would be to shoot the lower part of the tank, but there will be shells that stray off, just like when you aim at an IS-7 sight and they stray from where you want them to go, and they're going to hit that angled part and they are going to bounce. If you're side scraping this vehicle, it's incredible at side scraping. I mean, this is a tank that scares me. The upper plate, even with an E5 using AP, just slightly angled, is ridiculously thick at 264. And the side armor is also, as you can see, super duper troll. The sides are super thick, as they are literally a 90 millimeters base, so very strong there. The lower plate, though, is very weak at 132, meaning that an FE-2-5B183 will cut through that every day like butter. Even some HES shells from vehicles like the FE-2-5B will pen it if you just angle it slightly down. So, yeah, the Concept 1B is a ridiculous tank, and you might think, well, shoot the side of the turret, but actually the sides are pretty decently thick. Like, obviously, if you do have the side at an angle like this, you'll pen it, but that also goes for a vehicle like the E5. I mean, you just shoot the E5 on the side of the turret as well, and that goes for literally any heavy tank you look at. If it was an M6 you shoot the side of the turret. So, sure, that argument does work, but it works for every tank in the game. So, the Concept 1B is going to be a ridiculously strong tank, and not only ridiculously strong, but in my guess, if Wargaming leaves the vehicle at its current state, it will be the #1 used comp tank in Blitz. And there's no way Wargaming can nerf it because it's going to cost money. I mean, we've seen vehicles like the T-22 Medium sit in Blitz for, what, multiple years now, and it still has not received a nerf. And vehicles like, you know, the E6, the Badger, I don't think I've ever seen a collector actually get a nerf. The Smasher, the Annihilator, although the Annihilator is technically a premium, but you get what I'm saying. Wargaming will most likely not nerf a Concept 1B if it comes into the game, because the community will get very, very upset after dropping hundreds and thousands of dollars to get their hands on a Tier 10 Heavy. So the big question that a lot of you are probably going to ask is, how will we be able to obtain our hands on the Concept 1B? Well, the better way is, how will you not be able to get the Concept 1B? And the answer is in many ways. To get your hands on the tank, it's going to cost you around $500 US, and that's probably at the minimum. The issue, which we all know about these Christmas tanks, is Wargaming wants you to spend loads and loads of money if you want to get them. So a vehicle like the VK90, which was the first Christmas tank we had snow globes introduced into, if you wanted to complete the tree and get the vehicle guaranteed, it would have cost you about $700. I think that's how much it cost me. Yes, I know. Thank God I do Blitz as YouTube, because I made money back and I'm able to justify it. But yeah, $700 for a Tier 10 is ridiculous. Then we make our way over to the Amx M454. Now the Amx M4 I really like. It's a strong tank, and to get your hands on it was actually a lot better than the VK90. It was about $500. Yeah, still pretty expensive at that. There was one way of getting this tank, and that was through snow globes. Basically, if you got enough snow globes, you would get enough charms for this tank, and then you would get it guaranteed. Now, obviously, there are people that got extremely lucky, like the same people that have the AE Phase 1, and you can open up snow globes like it was for the VK90, like it was for the T-22 Medium, like it was for the Amx M454, and you can get incredibly lucky, and with a 1% drop chance or whatever Wargaming makes it, when you open up one of these snow globes or whatever, you can get your hands on the Amx M4. But chances are you're not going to. So don't expect to get your hands on the Concept 1B. Don't expect to get your hands on any of the Christmas tanks whenever they come out. It's almost impossible. Sure, you can get a free snow globe, or whatever Wargaming gives out this year, they'll do it again. They've done it every single year. So you can get a free tank or 15,000 gold or whatever Wargaming does give away, which is honestly amazing. It's great that they do it. But yeah, the big bad news is that you definitely will not be able to get your hands on this vehicle unless you drop a lot of money. So, yeah, I don't really know what to say. I mean, the Concept 1B probably in a year from now will be available in the Blitz Fair, but as we've seen for a vehicle like the Amx M4, which was available last year's Blitz Fair, it's probably not going to come out until this Blitz Fair and on the auctions for maybe 20,000 gold. But that'll be about your best way of obtaining the tank. So, hopefully all of you enjoyed today's video. Hopefully I cleared up some of the questions you had here and there about the Blitz Fair. I'll be obviously making videos in the future about the auction tanks, what I think will be coming into the game, and what you should be saving your money for. But stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye!